My name is Arturo Giamuniani, and I'm the president of Argent Homes.
Well, hi Art. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Modern Homes. This is episode 5. It's every
Wow.
Thursday, 2 p.m. It's going to be on Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and it's going to be published weekly on YouTube. This podcast is sponsored by Argent Homes, a modern home builder in Tampa. We build luxury modern houses. And welcome. Today
Thank you, Liz.
we're gonna be talking about land in Tampa and what is the ideal place to build a luxury modern home.
Okay.
Not in Tampa general, but in, like the Tampa Bay in general, and then also not area specific, but what is the must-haves in the land? Or do we need acreage? Do we need what are we looking for?
Well, for creating a wow effect on a modern home, I think that the best place to build is on the water.
Of course,
So people can see it when they drive, and people can see if they're in the boat, right? And in the bay. But obviously, we all know that lots on the water are very hard to find.
yeah,
And obviously, the cost of the lot in the water is much higher than the lot inland. But that's the best as far as attraction, as far as showing your home to many people. Now, not everybody can actually wants to live in the water or can afford to live in the water. Or the price of the lot is just tremendous, and the construction is different, obviously, because we're on the waterfront, and we need to pay special attention to hurricanes, flood, and whatnot.
correct. Trust.
Now, as far as location, what are we looking on a lot when we go out and buy it?
Yeah.
There's a few things that we need to take in consideration. Who is the one buying the lot? If a builder buys a lot, we're looking for a strategic location. We're looking for areas where we can place one of our homes and sell it quickly. It's attractive. So it's not about the price; it's about the location.
It's the rule of real estate in everything.
Correct.
Uh,
The price is actually related to location.
correct. Now, I do think also like with the land, the architecture of the house. If you work with the architect directly, like how we have full say in how our houses are designed and built, um, you can buy a small lot even on the water, but you can still make it look an amazing house on a smaller lot. So don't be shied away from a smaller lot on the water. You can still do a cantilever pool on the rooftop, for example, that can go from water to water, your view. So I think the land has you need to put the land in one aspect, but if you have a talented architect and a very talented builder as well, you can make it work.
You can make it work, but also, again, we're looking at a lot of people that they are planning to buy a lot because they want to have their house built. They're very price conscious about the cost. And sometimes they say, I would like to live in the water, but when they see the prices on the water, they say, well, what about other choices?
Yeah.
What else do we have that we can buy? Because again, they're buying land. And to be on the water, you pay the high price of being in the water. Yes. Now, on if you buy a lot inland, it also has different choices. We're looking at inland in a city or inland in the suburbs. What is the difference between one or the other? City lots are small
Yeah.
because they're city.
Mm-hmm.
They start at 50 feet frontage by 100 feet deep. Now, but if you go to the suburbs, depends on the kind of suburbs, but you can have lots that they have maybe acreage.
Correct.
And people are really motivated because they want the space. They want to build a house that is not tight. and maybe they have different type of waterfront, which is lakeside waterfront,
Yeah.
which is also attractive. But again, also has to do with the price. Lake uh, lots, front lake lots, are also more expensive than just regular lots, either city or suburbs. So again, the choices are numerous.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on your lifestyle, right? So if you want to have acreage and you want to have animals on your land, you go to the suburbs. If you want to have a tight community and you have acreage, right? If you want to have a tight community, which I have heard it from multiple people that they want to have closer neighbors so that kids can play with the neighbors' kids. When you live on 3, 5 acres, you're not really meeting your neighbors every day.
Correct.
So it's really the lifestyle that you want to live. If you want to live closer to the city, you work in the city, different story as well.
Yeah, the social life,
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Um, on another part, having somebody that is wanting to purchase land, why should they involve a builder from the beginning? Which, in my opinion, is crucial. Having somebody that has the knowledge of the build being involved at the beginning.
I think the biggest common mistake that people do is talk to a real estate agent. Nothing wrong about real estate agents, okay? But talk to a real estate agent and say, I need to buy a lot. Obviously, the real estate agent is not a builder. So, they can do searches, they can find available lots. And I say, well, these are the options. This is the price range that you told me. These are the options. And the person will say, I like this lot. But okay, you like this lot and you're going to go forward with a sale or with a purchase. How do you know as a consumer if the lot, in that lot, you can actually build the house that your dream,
Correct.
your dreams? There's there's no knowledge from the real estate agent, perhaps, and definitely the consumer doesn't have the knowledge to do due diligence on that
Navigate
lot.
through it. Yeah.
So the advice will be in this case, like you mentioned, if you really are serious about building the house of your dreams and you want to build it on your lot, contact a builder. First, select the builder that's going to build your home, no matter what architecture is. Find that builder, ask questions about that builder, look at the reputation, look at prior homes that the builder sold. Ask if they have any, business bureau complaints for whatever reasons. And if when you feel comfortable, then you said to the builder, listen, I want to buy a lot and I need you to help me. I would like to start the process early on because the builder can determine if the lot is buildable and do the due diligence for you.
Yeah, I think there's two trains in there as well. It's like obviously the builder has the knowledge of the build, and you need to have a builder that knows about architecture, right? So, for example, you want to buy a lot in the city of Tampa. You find a lot, real estate agent find a lot. They don't know of obviously how the soil conditions are. They don't know the zoning. They don't know the building height. Now, obviously, there's exceptional real estate agents that have a lot of knowledge as well. But in general, if you bring a professional, a builder, that that's his area. Even sometimes architect, they get involved and they were like, oh yeah, we're designing this beautiful house. But then that land that you buy, it's not buildable because either it's a historic district or you got
Trees,
setbacks
trees.
or you got trees. And builders are the on the ground. They're the soldiers on the ground that they understand the city, they understand their municipality, they deal with them every single day. So it's really important to have somebody by your side, in my opinion.
But that's exactly right. Number one, because you're going to need a builder to build a house. Let's start with that. So hiring a builder to help you with the lot is part of the building process, if you will. So you're going to need a builder sooner or later. You're going to need to do inspections sooner or later on the lot to make sure that you're buying the lot, the right lot. So why not talk to the people that knows about lots, soil conditions, trees, setbacks,
Utilities.
anything that can go wrong before you just execute the purchase, and then you're stuck with a lot.
Correct.
So
And people have done that in Tampa.
many times.
They got stuck with lots, and also having the builder being involved in the design phase as well. The builder knows what they're buying, so they know either alternative material or material that are available in town, um, and they don't have long lead time. Because sometimes architect they get creative and they use material that are either extremely expensive or it just have a really long lead time.
Mhm.
And builders are buying these materials.
Yeah,
So we know what is available. If you want to build a house in 12 months, well, you cannot use that material.
yeah,
So all these stuff needs to be talked about from the
yeah.
beginning, and that's what we advise to talk to a builder from the beginning. Um, Another question will be: there's obviously new communities in Tampa, and then there's older communities that was developed in 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
Um, and there's associations that have design criteria, and modern is not one of them because it wasn't a thing 20 years ago.
Correct.
How do you overcome that? If you want to live in a community but you want a modern house, how does somebody go about
Well, I think that the first thing to do is if you got an empty lot in that community,
it?
and you go around the community and you look at the old Mediterranean homes, and you want to build a modern home, you need to perhaps check the HOA
Documents.
covenants, yeah, and then make sure that the architectural design committee will allow your modern home to be built there. Perhaps not. Perhaps they don't want to break with the Mediterranean style because obviously it's an eyesore on the community. It doesn't matter if the house looks beautiful, but the rest of the home are not comparable to your home.
So would the client need to talk to the architectural community committee in within the HOA to figure out if they will allow a modern home to be built
I
on
think
that
that I
land?
think that the agent, if they use a real estate agent, the agent has to do the due diligence first.
The agent then needs
Yeah,
to do.
before you sign the papers and you buy a lot, that the only thing they will allow you is to build a Mediterranean home.
Correct, because in our case we do rooftops as well, and sometimes rooftops are not allowed
Correct.
within certain
Because of
zones.
height, because
Yeah,
of again, they are not going to with the sense of having a Mediterranean community. The same way that we build in our modern home community, we're not going to have a lot with just with a Mediterranean home in there because
of
it will
course.
not look good.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So, are there new communities that are allowing modern homes?
depends on the developer.
Depends on the so the
Exactly.
developer. So from developing a community, let's say, and we have developed communities in the past, but we have to put the rules from the beginning with the HOA. So
Correct.
we develop the HOA, we develop what is allowable, what is not, and then we record that with the county and the city, and that will be the law, the bylaws
Yeah.
of the HOA and the architectural committee of that HOA.
Mhm.
So it's very important to do a lot of research before pulling the trigger on buying the land.
Right. And remember one thing though, there are certain developers. Obviously, we're not here to mention names, but big developers they build big subdivisions. 200 homes, 150 homes, and they have their own sales force. They have their own mortgage company. So if they build traditional homes, they're not going to first put any lot for sale because that's their business.
Yeah,
They own the lot.
correct.
It doesn't make sense that they will sell those lots because they're profiting for the lots. And on top of it, they will make sure that maybe in the HOA documents they make an exception that says no other type of architecture because obviously now they're dealing with multiple families, and they don't want to get sued because people can complain that yeah, the house looks beautiful, but ours doesn't. They don't match into this house, so we look awkward,
Yeah,
and a lot of people can go in against that, and it becomes a legal issue, a legal problem. So big developers perhaps have clauses that besides what, and also they might have a clause that the only ones that are allowed to build there is their company.
yeah, got it. Now, another thing is obviously in a community that is mixed, right? Which is Tampa. I would say it's mixed now between different style of architecture. Does that affect the value when you build a modern home in a community, but like in South Tampa, for example, you got modern homes, traditional homes, whatever kind of style you can find in South Tampa on one street or another.
Yeah, yeah, but those are not communities. I mean, those are city lots.
City, yeah,
I have the sense of a community when you have like a
a
subdivision.
subdivision,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
For instance, in South Tampa. Okay, good question. So you go to any streets in South Tampa, and you see three houses being built in 1950, two houses Mediterranean style built in 2007, and three houses that modern built in 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
So what's happening with the value? Well, it's very simple. Number one, according to statistics, according to reports that we hear on a daily basis from good sources in construction, they said that modern is the new kid on the block. So what happened? Somebody's looking for a house. One of the Mediterranean homes is for sale, even if it was built 5 years ago, and the modern home is for sale, same square footage. Knowing that modern is the thing to have nowadays, like Mediterranean was 10 years ago, buyers are going to say, "Oh, I take Mediterranean." So the guy with the Mediterranean home, I take modern, I'm sorry, I take modern. The guy with the Mediterranean home is going to have a hard time to sell it. And we have cases
Correct. Yeah.
that our homes were, versus, a 10,000 square feet Mediterranean homes. And that seller had market problems because people are, if they have the choice in the same street or in the same area, they're going to choose modern unless they really don't like modern.
Yeah.
But modern is the style now. Okay. The Mediterranean owner is going to have some sort of marketing problem with that house versus the one that owns the modern home.
Yeah. They also are modern homes are selling by significantly more by square foot
Correct. There's
compared.
different type of construction too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the building science behind it is very complicated.
This the building of the modern home, it is not much complicated, but it is a work of somebody that understands how to build modern.
Correct.
Modern is a nice word, and contemporary is a nice word, but you need to put them in bricks. You need to know what you're doing, because and if you do it wrong, it will show. That's the bad part.
Yeah, you don't have crown molding, hiding lines. You don't have a lot of things that you use in fillers and stuff like that in traditional homes. You're not using in modern houses. It gotta be clean cut.
Exactly. And some of the our colleagues, that they are very experienced in selling other types of architecture, they decided they're going to go and build modern, but what about the quality? Do they understand, or is it just another product that they add to the line of products that they have?
Yeah.
So it's not difficult. I'm not trying to make a construction of a modern home very difficult task to do, but again, like anything else in life, if you can build something, you need to know what you're building, and you need to know every detail that is associated with the architecture.
Correct. Another thing on buying a lot, I would say, other than the utilities, the making sure the soil is good, I would pay attention to landscape and mature trees. We like mature trees, obviously, but sometimes you're gonna have to design the house around the trees, the protected trees, in different areas. Like in city of Tampa, we're very protective of grand oaks. Um, so with the builder that has experience, they know how to navigate around it. They know how to build a house around it. They can work with the architect directly and make sure that it's not going to be problematic. Because yeah, maybe you get the plans and then you pass it, but then when you come to actual putting it on the ground, you're very close from the tree. So you need to do too many different things with um, uh, pruning and air spading and uh, cantilever footers and things
Yeah.
of that nature.
Trees, we all love trees. Obviously, it's Mother Nature, and we need trees. We all know that. It's a fact. but also civilization needs to move on at the same time. So there are some trees that are not they're not protected, and there are some trees that are super protected.
Yeah.
Now, as a lot owner, if you go out and buy a lot, and the lot has trees, but you say, well, I just clean the lot and chop all the trees, and we got this huge space. Well, not really. There has to be a tree inspection done. So, and the tree inspector that comes from the city or the county will determine which one can you can cut and which one you need to protect.
Yeah, we get an arborist and an arborist
Correct.
report.
So now, even before you get to your architect, you're not going to design a house if you don't know what's going to happen with those trees, because
Correct.
he might design a house that on and when without it
Assuming the tree is going to be removed
without
while
it
it's not approved.
with a tree that is not is protected, right?
Correct.
So then you go to the architect and say, look, this is my survey. This tree needs to stay. This tree needs to stay. We can clean this up and now design a house. Now you know the space that he has to walk, between the house and the trees, and you can design the house that way. But
Yeah.
again, it's part of the knowledge that the homeowner needs to have, or somebody will advise him. Not necessarily has to go with the builder. We prefer the builder because obviously that's our business. But maybe you find a real estate agent that is knowledgeable enough to
Navigate
to
through.
navigate to. Yeah.
Another thing would be modern houses on different terrain of land, right? So, and most of Tampa is obviously flat, but where we're building, for example, in Stone Lake Ranch, where we have basically sloped lots. Um, a lot of clients, when they buy the lot, they think they bought a lot and that's it, but they don't understand there's a lot of cost associated with building a stem wall that is 10 feet high, or piling, or whatever it takes to make that foundation sturdy. That's another thing that they need to look at, especially when you're buying up closer to Assassin.
Yeah, elevation plays a major role, obviously, because some of the elevation, some of the lots are below the street level, right?
Correct.
So you're not going to build a house and put it below the street level, because the first thing you do is on rainy days you get flooded. That's not, and the builder can tell you that that's not something that is a secret. So you need to elevate the house, but not only you need to elevate the house because it's under the street level. Now you need to think about what happens if we have a flood.
Yeah.
You need to elevate it more, okay? Because you can make it at the street level, or maybe a line or two above it. But what happened when it really rains, or we have flooding like the last one through that hurricane that came in that devastated a lot of areas, coastal areas,
Yeah.
and with all houses because they were kind of at the street level.
Yeah. Some of them are under the street as well.
And even the properties in Pinellas County that they were underwater, built in 1950, they were not elevated at all. It was like at the water level. So the water gets higher, the house gone.
That's another thing that I would mention is you need to have a fighter on your side, because sometimes municipalities also don't want you to elevate houses the way they need to be. They don't want you to do certain things for a tree protection area or something. But if you're building your house and this is your dream house and you gotta build it higher up,
Mhm.
sometimes the city doesn't like that because neighboring properties, even though they're built in 1950 and they're about to get demolished, but they have a lot of rules and a lot of regulations. And if you don't know how to navigate through it
Yeah.
and really fight, you have somebody fighting for you. Sometimes you're gonna get screwed over.
Yeah, no, I will. If I'm a lot owner, I will not negotiate the height of my house,
Yeah,
because the issues coming after the flood, or the issues coming after the storm, they're damaged enough to that you can actually lose a lot of money. So if they tell me I cannot build, and that's something you need to do, also part of the due diligence. Um, if I cannot build high enough to protect me from a flood, then I'm not buying the lot,
yeah,
because that is a big risk, and unless you ready to take the risk.
yeah.
But nowadays, why you want to build a modern home and take the risk of getting flooded? You know.
And that's what we say: come to a builder that has a round of knowledge, right? So obviously nobody knows everything. But for example, when you come to Argent homes, we have different ways of figuring out things. So even if we cannot do a specific thing, we can go to the landscape architect and be like, all right, how do we navigate around the street? We have a team of landscape architects, hardscape architects, civil engineers that can do drainage studies, which this is huge in Tampa. We got a lot of drainage issues in Tampa that needs to be studied by civil engineers and worked out. Um, so go to somebody that have multiple ways of figuring out things.
And nowadays, I think the construction work have become more technical and more innovative than before. Before, they have a policy that was very loose as far as building. They were not, obviously, they didn't have any big hurricanes and stuff like that because hurricanes plays a major role. But now we're becoming more sophisticated in the way we build. And that's benefit the homeowner basically, right?
Correct.
Protection, impact windows on or drainage.
Yeah.
Even if you got a flat roof on the modern home. Okay, so what do we do when it rains? It's flat. The water is going to stay there. The water is going to evaporate.
Yeah.
The weight on that water and before it evaporates. So you have to have a good drainage on the roof. So if the architect that designs the house and says, "Oh, let's put a flat roof," well, yeah, we can put a flat roof, but what about the drainage on that flat roof that needs to
Yeah,
be
of
taken
course.
into
You get drained.
consideration,
Yeah.
right? And the aesthetics, what is going to pour on the side and in the front and in the back?
That's the other thing. You bring up a really good point, and that's a miscommunication between architects, homeowner, and builders. If you have somebody that doesn't have the full vision, you get a roofer that's like, oh, all right, well, your flat roof is flat, so we just gotta pitch the whole thing and we're gonna put gutters. And you're like, well, that's not the intent of the design, you know? So you need to have a builder that has the team of subs that understand and comply uh, with the vision of the design that is required.
Well, just to explain more to the audience, let's say that obviously you build in a modern home and it has a flat roof. You're right. I mean, if we don't do anything to that flat roof, it needs to have a pitch. The water has to go somewhere. Okay, but let's say we have a pitch, a little pitch. You cannot see it. Okay, that's fine. But where did it go? The water is going to go both sides of the house, front and back. It's going to pour. No, they're going to put gutters, right?
Correct.
But a modern home doesn't come with gutters. It's not aesthetic. It's modern. The architecture wouldn't allow gutters to be put in place.
Correct.
So what do you do now? So you let the water stay. You let the water pour in every side that possible just to get it out, or you go with a squeegee after the rain and you go on top of the roof and try to squeeze the water out. There's systems nowadays that allows to drain the roof through inside the house and get connected, so the water can go outside with pipes.
Discharging.
So you eliminate most of the pitch, okay, because you got multiple drains with enough capacity to take that water, even if it rains a lot, enough capacity to drain that roof, take the water out without gutters and without having the problem to have water standing on top of your roof.
Yeah.
But that is something that was not done before.
Correct.
It's new technology.
All the houses are
Pitched.
pitched, yeah, 612 pitch or something, and
Exactly.
with gutters.
Now, don't get me wrong, I seen modern homes with a pitched roof, but a big pitch.
Yeah.
Is that modern?
Yeah.
No. So why do you call it modern? Because it got big windows? No. Modern is a big concept. Not only big windows, flat roof is also essential on a design, on the architecture of the modern home.
Now, with modern houses, do you see those more often in the city? Do you see them more in the suburbs? Do you see an increase in the suburbs? What is, well, like, just in general, as far as inventory count of modern houses? Where do you think? Obviously, they're growing within the city, and then they're coming out, in my opinion. But where do you see people moving that wanting a lot of modern houses?
Well, unfortunately, modern has to go with the neighborhood. It's not and yeah, and I want to talk about what areas, but you cannot build a modern home in an area that is no modern at all, and your house will be sticking out like a sore throat, like you're the only one with a 3-story uh, modern home and everybody else is not. The value is not going to be there on top of it, because when you're trying to make a comp on that house, they're going to comp whatever was sold in that
Yeah.
neighborhood or in that area, and it's nothing to comp that house with.
I think Odessa is a great place to be building in.
Odessa is a good
The
place. There's a lot of good places, but again, they are related to the type of land and obviously what is being in the neighborhood,
and the lifestyle that the
the
clients want.
lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what would be step one of choosing the location? So, all right, just I just moved to Tampa. I don't know nothing about Tampa. I want to buy a lot. Where do I start?
if you if you don't know anything about Tampa and you don't know anything about lots, but you need to contact somebody that knows, because obviously you're not going to go out and buy something that you don't even know if you can actually build on.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing you need to do is basically do your homework, locate a builder first. No matter what it is, you're going to need a builder. One way or the other, at what stage, you're going to need a builder. And ask questions. Do you can you help me with the design, or I need to find my own architect, or I need to find my own drafter, or I need to find my new structural engineer, or I need to find my new, an electrical engineer, or whatever trade that is, or can you do everything? So if you have a builder that helps you with the design, helps you with the permits, helps you to find the lot, helps you with do the due diligence on the lot.
Are builders there patient enough to be spending the time with a client, or does it become a partnership between a realtor and a builder helping a client?
Well, I think that is a builder's business to help a client, any client that it wants to buy a house, especially if you're going to build it, right?
Well, and to build it.
Yeah, because if he's buying the land or she's buying the land and they want you to build it, make sure that as a builder, we need to offer our services. Obviously, again, buying a lot is not just putting the cash on the table and buying the lot. There's a lot of expenses associated with buying a lot.
If you do it the right way, yeah.
If you do it the right way, it's a lot of expenses. And not to mention, if you got a builder that needs to design a home, also there's expenses associated with designing a home, get the interior designer to make sure that everything is okay. You do the revisions, maybe one or two, then it goes into a drafting, and then the structural engineer also takes a look at it and signs on. There is a process
Correct.
before you even submit it for permit.
Correct.
And that process can be about 2 months, 3 months, even
Even
more,
more, yeah.
even more.
Yeah.
And then after you got everything set up and you say, "Oh, I got the plans," you're not going to start building yet.
Yeah.
You need to send it to the city or the county to make sure that they approve it. And then they take another sweet month and a half to 2 months by the time you get your permit, and then you can start building. All of that first 6 months between buying, doing due diligence, designing, plans, permits, and stuff like that. If you don't have the people, the support that knows about it, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult to accomplish, because even if you don't know a lot about how the wheels turn, you have the chance of making mistakes.
What would you say? You would have picked one neighborhood in Tampa. What would it be?
For
Where would, for building a motorhome, like buying a lot and building.
Well, I want to get a lot of people in trouble, and I don't want people to get in trouble with me. I cannot select neighborhoods, and they're going to say, "Oh, Art said, this is the best neighborhood in Tampa." Now the prices are going to go up in that neighborhood, and the other neighborhoods are going to suffer. We got to be careful. I said I'm going to make it simple without naming neighborhoods, so I get myself out of trouble. Personally, if I have to build a modern home for my family, kids, I'm looking for a space. I'm looking for having maybe 6, 7, 8,000 square feet built, because I want my gym, I want my chef kitchen, I want my rooftop entertainment, I want to have my office and my wife's office. I want to have a room for the kids to play. I want to have a media room. I want to have. There's a lot of wishes that people can have, and a lot of wants and must-haves. So I'm going to be looking for a lot that is large enough to accommodate my home without any. They will not look tight because I want space too,
Yeah.
right? So I will be looking for a lot that is big enough. And if it was my choice, also I would look for maybe a waterfront lot or a lakefront lot. If I don't have that, I can live without it. But space on big modern homes is essential. I don't see putting a big modern home in a city lot. Number one, because there's no lots that would support that. Number two, it's going to look really different from the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah, but do you think? I mean, I still think with having a really talented um, builder and architect that work together and design a house, because we have done that in, for example, in SMP, we're building these houses, modern houses, in a mixed neighborhood. But between the landscape that we do, the outdoor space, the indoor space, we're still achieving something that is extremely uh, beautiful, and we don't have the acreage.
No, but the big lots too. The bigger lots than the city lots in Tampa.
Correct, they're a little bigger, but
Yeah,
they're not.
much bigger.
Yeah, they're not an acre or nothing. Um, but yeah, so I think it's still doable if you have a very talented team.
It's doable. You ask me what do I want?
Yeah, you obviously
You ask me
you want a bigger space.
you
Well,
ask me my taste.
you want to have a garden, a vegetable garden.
Oh, of course, I'm gonna have a garden. I'm gonna have a playroom outside. I don't want to be suffocated by having a neighbor 7 feet away from me, another neighbor 7 feet away from me. So that's my preference.
Yeah.
But if you need to live in the city because you are a professional that, let's say, for instance, a doctor that works in the hospital, which is 5 minutes away, in listening in the city, not in the suburbs, then you need to settle for the city lots.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we can talk about the build and structure of a modern homes, and that will take a whole another episode.
That will be episode 6.
That will be episode 6. I don't know if that will be episode 6 or 9. I don't know. Either or. Um, but what have been the market for modern houses the last year and a half? Where do you see this going in the next? Do you think more builders are going to be building modern houses? Do you think we're going to see more of that in the Tampa Bay area?
Well, we started building modern homes in 2018. It's been 5 years. Even before 2018, 2017. Since then, I think that without, I'm very humble about this, but without missing the point, we were one of the few builders
Correct.
that were tackling that type of architecture and created a big fuss about modern. And after that, there's a lot of builders that came in and they're building a lot of modern homes right now uh, because that's what people actually are requesting. How do we go from here? The same way happened with Mediterranean homes back in the early 2000s. There was not a lot of Mediterraneans before, but all of a sudden the big boom of Mediterraneans, now they have 20,000 square feet Mediterranean homes, right? And those houses now are having problem to be sold because people are looking for modern. So what I think that modern just started. Modern is just um, awakening people to a new design, new architecture. People like it, clean lines. Uh, a lot of modern homes are warm instead of the Scandinavian cold, which is good for families as well. And they see it also on the news, on TV, on shows. They look at shows coming from the West Coast or even in Miami, and the only thing we see is modern, 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 modern. So people say, if I want to build a home, I feel comfortable because I see it, I like it. Yeah. There's a lot of technology going in those modern homes as well. And I think that we're going to have this architecture for a good 10 to 15 years more until something new comes in. But again, I am not. I don't have the crystal ball to say it, but
Yeah.
I think that people are realizing that even around the country, it used to be that LA was the one city that carried modern homes a few years ago. Then it was Miami. Tampa came along, and I see
I
some of
think
the other cities getting into modern. Not a lot, but getting into modern.
I think Tampa is beating everybody though. Tampa is doing great.
Tampa's doing great, but what I'm saying is, as far as timing, there's a lot of time in our hands because the country is being awake of modern construction. So there's going to be a lot of cities in this country that are going to adopt the same mentality, and people are going to have modern homes from now on.
Now, I want everybody to that is listening as well to learn more about this podcast and our sponsor, Argent Homes, Tampa Bay's luxury modern home builder. You can visit our website at argenthomes.com. Again, this podcast is every Thursday at 2 p.m. It's going to be live on Facebook and LinkedIn. It's also going to be on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and on the YouTube channel for Argent Homes as well. Well, Art, thank you very much. This has been a great information about the market and modern houses in
Thank you,
Tampa.
ladies.
And I'll see you next week on Thursday,
See you next week, episode 6.
episode 6.
Thank you.
Thank you.